The Somme River in France, a place of much peace and hospitality. Not bad for a bike ride even. Yet just 100 years ago, one of the most terrifying battles in history took place right here. How, one may ask, did such an event occur? Well, let me tell you the story of the Battle of the Somme. It all started in early 1916 when German General Erich von Falkenhayn decided to try and split the bond between the Anglo-French Entente, which was an alliance between Britain and France. German forces had taken over parts of northern France by going through Belgium. Their plan was to set up very well-defended bunkers and trenches to kill hundreds of French and British soldiers. They thought by doing this it would significantly weaken Allied armies and cause the Franco-British militaries to fall. When the Germans both threatened France by entering their territory and going through a neutral country, Belgium, Britain decided to get involved. Little did they know that it would cost them. The Somme River was a good spot for the Germans because of both the location in northern France and the protection it provided. Sir Douglas Haig would fall right into the trap of the Germans. Haig, being an offensive-minded commander-in-chief, who took over about a year before when war strategies were being made, wanted to attack and break the German lines out of Belgium. Many people did not agree with his views.
Douglas Haig is the most controversial British military commander of the 20th century, possibly of all time. And I think that a lot of nonsense has been written about him. He certainly made mistakes which had some fairly bloody consequences, but he's by no means the pantomime villain that you read in some books.
Meanwhile, the French were caught up in the Battle of Verdun, which the Germans had started in order to slowly weaken the French in the Battle of the Somme. By doing this, the French couldn't contribute to the Battle of the Somme quite as much as they wanted. The battle began on July 1st, 1916, and it was a slaughter. Haig's tactics were to try and use artillery weapons to shell the Germans and break holes in the barbed wire in no man's land. His attack was ineffective, as German forces had trenches with machine guns built and the barbed wire went practically untouched. Trenches played a huge role in this battle, as they allowed for the Germans to defend themselves from artillery and the Allies from gunfire in no man's land. Thousands of casualties were taken because of men running into no man's land, expecting it to be open without much shooting, when really it was just the opposite. Britain suffered 57,470 casualties on the first day, being the largest amount of British casualties in a single day. The Germans only had 10,000 to 12,000 casualties. Skirmishes continued to take place that had similar consequences for the British, but on a smaller scale.
Practically all our officers have been decimated. They were wiped out. Most of the NCOs too. And quite a lot of men lay dead in the tank, with the shellfire, of course. And then, 7:30, Mr. Morris pulled out his revolver, blew his whistle and said, "Over." And as he said it, the bullet hit him straight between the eyes and killed him. I went over with all the other boys. Well, the barbed wire that was supposed to have been demolished had only been cut in places. Just a gap here, a gap there, a gap further on. Everybody made for the gap in order to get through. Well, the Germans, of course, there were supposed to be no Germans at all in their front line. We'd annihilated them according to the theory. Actually, they were down in the ground in concrete shelters. They just wound up their guns on automatic affairs and fired at these breaches in the wire. And of course they just mowed us down. And it seemed to me eventually there was just one man left. I couldn't see anybody at all. All I could see was men lying dead, men screaming, men on the barbed wire with the bowels hanging down, shrieking. And I thought, What can I do? I was just alone in a hell of fire and smoke and stink.
The battle itself lasted until the 18th of November. The Allies ended with a total of 623,907 casualties. It was one of the largest battles of World War I, and certainly one of the bloodiest in human history. The Allies gained a total of 6 miles after it was all said and done. So one may ask, was all that bloodshed really worth it?